Hello, good morning and good night, or whatever time you guys are on, wherever you're at. Here it's I want to say 1776. How's it going, y'all? Welcome to the group to Oye Cinema Club. Today we're going to be talking about Hundreds of Beavers. I first saw this film earlier this year in March when it was playing at the Lamley in North Hollywood. Oddly enough, it was a showtime that had both the director and the star for a Q&A, so that was fun as fuck. But yeah, let's just little round table for the gang. Let's go ahead and talk about first impressions, initial thoughts. I think it's safe to say that this particular picture is a first of many for some of y'all. But yeah, let's go around. Anyone, just have at it. Not at the table. Just jump out. Be crazy.
Okay.
First,
Go ahead, Dino.
first time watching it for sure. Um, I've heard of this movie just because JP has talked about it for so long, and I remember I think I had seen the first time he talked about it. I think I started playing the trailer and I was like, nope, I don't need to see any more because I do want to watch this film at some point. Boy, this is some like absurd Dadaist. What's other words? Avant-garde, if you will. It's just all over the place. It has so many great things. It's so funny. The production value, I think, is really good. Um, but yeah, I think it might be a little too long for what it is. It's almost 2 hours. It's like a hour 50 basically, and that might be just a little too long for me. But with a movie that has no dialogue and all that, it's it's fun. It's fun, but just a little long.
Cool.
Copy that. Anyone else? I know Jason was about to say something. Let's head over to Jason.
I changed my mind. No. This is my first time viewer, long time watcher. No, this is my first time seeing the movie. I only know about it because JP was I think I almost said Jay Z. JP was recommending it, or had mentioned it like earlier in the year, and then I believe on your story, JP, you had like featured it, that you were going to see it for a second time. So I was like, I better check out what this movie is, and I saw the trailer, and I was like, okay, this is unique and cool. I probably won't have an opportunity to see it in the theater because films like this, indies. I guess this is an indie. These things don't stay in theaters very long, so wasn't able to carve out the time to see it in theaters. And I'm actually glad I didn't because I'd rather have seen a film like this at home. I think. So I think this thing was creative. I think it was fun. It was like infinitely creative, honestly. I do agree with Dino. The running time for a film like this, it being a comedy and it being a silent film, it being black and white, it being a lot of things, very, infinitely silly and goofy. It's a little bit long. It's a little bit long. Could have been shorter, but I think if you're a filmmaker and you're making a movie like this, and I think you just throw everything at it. You throw everything you've ever thought of at it because you're never going to get this opportunity again. That's what I was thinking when I was watching it. So it's kind of interesting that Dino had a similar take. But if you're gonna make this movie, you make it as long as you possibly can, or until you run out of your bits, because you don't really want to leave anything on the cutting room floor with this. And they maybe they did, but this thing is full of like it feels like it's every joke they ever thought of and that they wrote, and they put it down, and they're like, we're gonna try to do this thing. It's kind of a live action cartoon a little bit. It's a if that makes sense. I mean, it's not like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There's not really any animation in it, but it's very much all the cartoon sort of tropey tropes. But I do kind of like how this thing kept hyping and going, and just like there's no level of silly that we won't cross. So I do appreciate that about the film, and just for someone to have the courage to write this thing and then to tell other people about it, and then for people to get on board and say, let's make it. and then go through the effort to make it, because I'm sure this thing took forever. That would be my guess, that this thing took forever. It feels like it being a silent film. Like, how do you even write this? Or it's nearly a silent film. I just don't even know how you write something like this that's not with that much dialogue. Like, do you write the bits? I actually would have liked very much to have seen the talk back with the creators or whatever. So, JP, we're probably going to be asking you some questions about that. Um, but I did like this thing. Not so much because it's necessarily my taste in film, although like, I'm just always happy to see something so different and so outside the box and so brave and super creative. Um, but yeah, I'm sure we're going to be asking you some questions about it, JP, as our elder statesman on this film.
A
That's my first
copy
thought.
of that. It's a great first thought. Right. I definitely already have a few answers to some of those questions, but we'll get into that later. What's up, Des? Out in Deutschland or some European country, in an island perhaps?
You're muted.
Oh, okay.
I'm muted. I'm actually in Mars right now, but I just made it back through one of those holes that I sunk into and got back into the States. Anyway, first impressions. This movie, I agree with the consensus of the group, which is I do feel the movie was a tad too long, but because I was a little rushed to get into the cinema club and watching the movie, and I still had quite some movie left. At one point of the movie, maybe the last 20, 30 minutes, about 25 minutes, I would say, I had to speed up the movie. And let me tell you, this movie is a great movie if you speed it up a little bit, because you actually can and you still follow what's going on. At the beginning, I was very confused. Maybe 22 minutes into the film, I was like, the only way I will survive this movie is if I get a little high. And then, continuing to watch the movie, I started to really get it. Not just the story, because of course you can follow along the story as the movie progresses, but I'm talking about the inspiration of the film. I was like, yes, the people that created this film played a lot of video games. There's a lot of Looney Tunes into this. The costumes were very creative. That's something that we got to definitely point out. And one thing for sure that I would love to see is kind of like an extensive. It could be even 3 hours. I wouldn't even mind making of this film, of like from creative process to filming. I think that would be extremely entertaining. And if DVDs were a thing now, like I would see this movie coming with the making of set with it together, and that would be a great collector's item. Anyway, first impression, enjoy the movie. Not too long, but really entertaining.
Awesome. That's
Right on.
great. Radio. So, my first impressions, I'm kidding. Everybody knows how I feel about the film. When the film first came out, like I saw this in the cinemas perhaps 8 times. I'm not even joking. I saw it that many times in different like show houses that they were having it in, and they're having a re-release as during this holiday season in the month of December, whenever this releases out. They will be releasing a Blu-ray, and there's several behind-the-scenes stuff that you could definitely catch at the director's Instagram, as well as the official Instagram for Beavers. So the director, Mike Cheslik, he's also going to be releasing a Blu-ray, hopefully, that has some great behind the scenes stuff, because the Instagram stuff and the stuff on Letterbox, it's great, but you really do want to see a little bit more. In regards to the inspirations for both video games and Looney Tunes, that was totally intentional. Just the fact that there's a bit of lore building within the movie, that's something that I just absolutely love. And upon rewatching, you get to catch more stuff that you didn't see from before. And the movie was basically made, from my understanding, instead of writing, it was story storyboard based. So kind of like how animated features are done, and like kind of the old Looney Tune and Warner Brothers stuff is done was storyboard based, which is why there's so many visual gags. And it was all, none of the stuff was improvised. It was stripped by whatever Mike wrote on the board and what he wrote on the script. So there was no improv in this stuff. It was all planned chaos. To answer some of your guys' questions. And let's talk about, because this movie is basically a gag a second, a gag a minute, nonstop for pretty much 2 hours. I think it could have done with like 3 more, for in my opinion. But out of all those gags, was there any gag that you guys caught or was like your top gag of the film?
Oh man, there's so many gags, nonstop gags, man. Uh, well, I will tell you one that stands out, and it's not because I'm a pervert or anything, but I really did like the stripper scene where the dad is like watching from behind the the corner of the wall, and she's still, and I only because like
Hey man, not a stripper, pole dancer, please. We don't know her backstory. Pole dancer. Come on.
okay. So when she starts to be a pole dancer, I was really kind of impressed because she was really good at it. Like it wasn't like she was just like messing around. Like it was like she was skillful at it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And it was just really well done and well choreographed. And that whole bit was kind of funny. And I just didn't expect it. It really came out of nowhere. So that kind of made me giggle a little bit. For all the gigs, all the gags and bits in this thing, I didn't laugh out loud a ton. Maybe just like, you know what I mean, or something like that. Like maybe 2 or 3 times. Not that they're not funny. It's just not like for me. They're not like gut buckling. Maybe I would have laughed a little bit more if I was in theaters with other people and like the laughter would have been a bit more infectious. But I think, yeah, there's so many gags. I know I'm probably leaving out the ones that actually like caught me because I don't even really remember them. But
Can I
uh,
ask you about the pole dancer gag bit then? What was the bit there, or what do you think the bit was there?
well, the bit was that one, we don't expect her to like, because like she's showing her ankle, and to me that was kind of cute because I'm like, oh, like they don't ever see each other's bodies. This is probably like the 1800s or whatever, I don't know. And like, he's a trapper, so like just the ankle of a woman being out of the wilderness, like that's just enough. But then like the fact that she goes, full tilt into like this erotic dancer, and then the dad can't really see what's going on, but he does, and you just know as soon as he gets around the corner she's going to be back to wearing her potato sack.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. I just wanted to see, make sure. I was like, pretty obvious what that the gag was, right? But it's literally, I think in the movie Titanic, there was like shiny skin, and it was scandalous. So yeah, I think just for our mindset of what it looked like was he was only seeing the ankle. There was no pole dancer. That was just kind of like, this is what you freaks expect, and this is what they
Oh, you don't
freaked
think
on.
that he was really pole dancing? You think it was his imagination?
Imagination.
Mm,
Kind
No,
of
interesting.
kind of like when he saw the animals and was really hungry, and then like very cartoon, you see the drumstick. I think it was the same thing. It was just imagination that she was pole dancing.
I would say that she was definitely pole dancing because when the dad comes around the corner they're pretending to play patty cake, and then they kind of look
And
at the
that's
dad like, ah, see, we're innocent.
I think we should ask Todd Phillips what's real and what's not for this.
Todd
But
Phillips, right?
Jason, just saying that they're playing patty cakes at that point, I think proves that it was made up. Because again, to us and to them in their minds, that's like this wild
So
sexual
do you think
experience.
that she wasn't even showing him the ankle either?
The ankle, yeah, the ankle, yeah, because they did a little bit of that edit. Is what the way I remember it is of the, again, turning people into like drumsticks, or like like a juicy meal, and I feel like there was a little bit of that, like kind of into her ankle. Like the shot felt like it almost transformed from her ankle into that pole dancing.
Well, I'm going to just interject because I was going to mention that particular scene, but since it's already been mentioned to death here, I'm going to mention another one, which was when he was biting essentially wood, and he made a whole Jesus Christ. That actually, maybe because I literally went to church the other day, that just made me laugh.
It's a good bit. I my only dislike about that bit is the spit take of just a fuck ton of blood every time he's done making the crucifix.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
that kind of weirded me out just a little bit because I'm like, well, this dude has like been chewing wood and all this other stuff. Why is it this time he chews the wood? He's got a mouthful of blood.
Gotta ask Phillips about it, right?
It's
Yeah, I
Catholic
mean,
guilt,
I
baby.
don't think you should be asking too many questions about this movie. To be honest with you, I think you have to just accept it for what it is and just go with it.
Here's another gag, I guess, that, since, yeah, we all went pole dancer first. Dogs playing poker. I thought that was very, again, like Jason, like, oh, funny. Oh, little golf clap around. Like, that's clever. That's funny.
Can I
And
tell you
then,
that part actually made me sad a little bit?
It's so brilliant. You fall for these men in dog suits playing poker and solitaire. That's the magic of this
yeah,
movie because I also felt bad.
Yeah.
it ends with solitaire, and then he takes the cards and like trades it in for some credit. So it's like when I guess video games, when someone dies, it's you loot the body, and then you what can I sell? What can I get value?
I got
Sorry,
another.
Steve.
I got another gag that I really liked was when he was walking the trail of the bunnies, and he went all over to like they get married, then they had sex, then they had a whole orgy, all
That
that,
was
and then all the way to the end, the little bunnies. He was like, "Oh, it's so sad," and then he eats them and kills them. Whatever.
that that was my favorite gag of the movie. And in the theater, as soon as I saw the baby bunnies, in the back of my mind, I was like, he has to kill them now. Like, there's no way to end the joke. He has to kill them now because he's a fur trapper. And thank God that they did, because that made me happy.
And one more gag that this one I wasn't expecting. Also was the one that he's bringing like all these beavers he got. I'm like, oh, the movie's over. But then the whole piece was fake, and it was just like the detective beavers that drop the
Yeah,
thing so they can do a
Sherlock Holmes.
proper burial to the beavers.
Yeah. No, very Looney Toony. Because then also at some point he's like shooting the other beavers, and then a group of them is like, "You ain't gotta shoot us," and they just jump in the hole. Like, we ain't gotta get shot. We'll just jump in.
Copy
But yeah,
that.
that the house falling on him, very much Looney Tunes. I mean, Blazing Saddles also did that. Clearly you can see the gags galore that were brought up from different parts of cinema or video games or TV and cartoons.
For sure. So yeah, if that's all the I mean, there's a ton of fucking gags, but the review will be longer than the movie if we talk about every single joke. This film has a very interesting ensemble, a small ensemble, a very interesting one. We follow the story of John Kayak, uh, an apple cider type of fella turned into a fur trapper. And then, of course, we see the merchant, the daughter of the merchant, the lead fur trapper, his dogs, and there's, of course, the critters. There's the bunnies, the raccoons, and also a plethora of different beavers from a Sherlock Holmes beaver, a Johnny Cochran beaver, just a bunch of cop beavers. So I guess my next question on to you guys: throughout the whole ensemble, including a human character and one of the critter characters, who amongst them are your favorites from this picture?
Oh, that's a great question, and I'm ready for you on this one. Um, so for me, it's really simple. Not because like they were super integral, but I mean they were somewhat integral. I like the Sherlock Holmes and Watson um, beavers. Like I like them investigating these beaver murders, and it's just like it's so great. Like the Sherlock Holmes and Watson costume is so recognizable that like anybody could put that thing on in anything, and you know what they're doing, right? It's just I don't know. I thought it was cute and funny, and I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I could see a whole more bits with them, and that right there is also very Monty Python-esque. From the Holy Search for the Holy Trail, Holy Trail, Holy Grail, Trail Grail, where all of a sudden there's like a police inspector investigating the murders from the historic. So yeah, the Sherlock Beaver and Watson is great, and again just shows of like a ongoing through line bit that we get to see.
I
For
have to make.
me,
Oh,
yeah, go. I'm still thinking. Go, Steve.
okay, okay. Then for me, very little scenes, but it just made me laugh so much. The Horseman.
Native American,
No, no, the
or
horse, the man that was
yeah,
inside a horse
Oh,
costume.
of course.
You can literally see his whole face.
yeah.
Like, to me, that was super hilarious.
Um, man,
Also, the
trying to.
honorable mention, the fat raccoons, when they were eating,
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
those fat raccoons too.
yeah. In the cinema that I was at, the first kill from the first raccoon that he got that becomes his hat, biggest applause out of in the whole theater. It was really great, just magical seeing this guy just fucking murk this one raccoon. Oh gosh, my favorite little furry critter from the bit has to be honestly the lawyer bit for when they're in the trial. Like the movie goes off the fucking rails at that point. Well, I'm not that I ever was on the rails, and like it was part of the throughout narrative, so it was planned out the little stuff that they were putting into the movie, but just the trial where they're in the beaver dam with that with those two beaver lawyers, that was pleasant. That was awesome. And then out of the human characters, I really did like the merchant character, and also the native fur trapper character. Like when we get to see him just like completely roided and buff to take on this mecha of a beaver. When you see the movie, it'll make sense. A mecha of a beaver. Um, it's just
I thought that
art.
was, yeah, I thought that was awesome. I didn't see that one coming either. And that's what I mean about like they threw everything, every idea they had. They're like, let's make this thing into a mech now, like let's not leave anything on the table or we're gonna like hate ourselves in the morning for it. So I
Yeah,
really
this
appreciated that mech
this also
beaver.
gave me a lot of. Is it Gravity Falls? Is that the cartoon? Uh, the
Oh yeah, no, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, because of I feel like I mean, it's been done also, but I just thought of the little gnomes that all create a giant gnome. That's what I feel like the beavers did. But I'm glad you brought up the court scene because I forgot about that. And that again kind of reminds me of M. Is that what we saw? The one with the German guy, that
Oh,
there's
Peter
like a
Lorre, yeah.
yeah, underground trial happening. But the fact that Southern lawyer. I don't know. You can just tell that it's like the good old. He's got the suspenders, and I just feel like the beaver is yo on what we got here. Kind of like the lawyer or judge in My Cousin Vinny. You know, that real southern drawl that I could just like picture that one beaver lawyer, good old boy. And because the suspender that didn't go anywhere. Like I looked at it, the suspender is just like suspender, but then it just kind of like attaches or just disappears into the beaver's uh, suit outfit.
Oh,
So
something
I
just occurred to me about the pole
yeah,
dancing scene. So in that scene, when she starts pole dancing and taking her clothes off, he starts telling her like, "Hey, knock it off, knock it off." And he looks at the dad and he's like, "Ah, it's cool, nothing's going on here." And he's like, "Hey, stop, your dad's coming." That shows that it was actually happening, and they weren't just playing patty
no,
cake because he was trying to stop
no,
her from continuing doing it.
no. It's because he was still reacting to seeing the ankle play. That's all ankle
Oh, so
play.
you're saying that all she showed was the ankle, and he imagined the rest.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
just like
still
the
like
scenes where
freaking
the
out.
characters turn into chicken when he wants to eat them or whatnot, they didn't do that with that scene. All they did was show her doing her dance number. And when they come back, she doesn't. Oh, well, never mind. That doesn't really matter.
Let's watch it again, I guess, right? JP is having so much fun. He's like, let's watch it again. Let's
Let's
watch
watch
it
it
again.
again.
Let's
That
watch it
was
again.
that was oddly enough Michaela's my Michaela, not other Michaela. That was their least favorite joke. They said that it should have ended on the ankle bit, but no. I thank the filmmakers for their bravery to
So
just go
actually,
at
I
100.
I said the same thing. I like the ankle bit would have just been enough because I thought that was kind of cute and funny. But then when they
Yeah,
went into full on, pole dancing and taking off the clothes, I was like, oh, you guys are really going to heighten this thing till there's nothing left, which I appreciate. But I think by doing that, that's where you get a nearly 2 hour running time for a movie.
right. Is that just the actress
That is
had that
true.
in special skills? And so they're like, well, we can add this here.
No, I actually did look up the actress, and that's her first main profession is dancing. So if anything, once she auditioned for this bit, as soon as they saw that she was a dancer, they definitely exploited that skill.
Well, I mean, it works with a bit. I wasn't expecting that, but like 90% of the movie wasn't expecting it, like so. But yeah, I would again. I will say I did maybe nod off once or twice. You should clean your screen, bro. Yeah, he's reacting because my thing is like when he does come around, where'd the pole go? Where's the pole? Ain't no pole. You're on mute, Jason.
You're
You're on
muted,
mute.
Jason.
Are you trying to make fun of this? Make sense of this movie from like a logical metaphysics standpoint?
No, but you are. You are. Where's the pole? The pole is not there. Where's her outfit? It's not there. It's just ankle play.
They're gone. They're out of here.
All right. Comment down below. Team Dino, aka Team Ankle, or Team Skeevy Pole Dancer, aka Jason.
I mean, the thing is, it's not really a new bit. Like they've done this kind of bit like in every Looney Tune
Right.
movie, cartoon that ever was.
Right.
So, I would just assume that it would be in line with those as well. I mean, and if it was like in his head, I think they would have made some type of like illusion or something like they've done before with the other things in the movie that was in his head.
I mean, there are no rules. So
Definitely not.
whether it was in his head or she did dance, but then cartoon logic. Let's just call it that. It's cartoon logic. The whole movie is cartoon logic, which Charlie Chaplin even used and Buster Keaton of being able to basically and which this movie did a good job of it. I forget the terminology, but it's like the actor only sees what the audience sees, or something like that. There's a terminology for that, of like that. Yeah, the actors are only privy to what's on the actual screen, if that makes sense. Because that's where a lot of like cartoon bits were being used in Chaplin and Buster Keaton, and even Frank Lloyd. Is that the other guy? That they would get surprised or they run off, even though in real life I can see what's right here, because the screen doesn't see that, then the character, the actor, doesn't see it. So that's I think throughout this movie that happened a lot, and the pole is part of that cartoon logic, that once it's out of shot and it's gone. That's all I gotta say about pole dancing.
Ouch, ouch.
We could definitely talk more about the pole dancing. But yeah, okay, so this one kind of leans more into what we previously talked about gags, but mentioned how unexpected this movie was. And the thing that I was for sure shocked at every time I saw this on the repeat viewing, so even after a dozen watches, it still surprises me, is how violent this movie can get. So I
Okay.
kind of want to get a feel from you guys. What was either like your favorite scene of all those guys just murking these little furry guys, or like favorite stunts? Because there's definitely some heavy, like real stunts in this picture, as well as fictitious cartoon silly violence.
Yeah, for sure, man. There's a ton of it. Almost to the point where at one point I did think, okay, so I started to think the movie might be a little bit too violent at the point where he's like clubbing the guys on ice, and the I think maybe it's the detectives are like looking away, like, oh, the whore. And so at that point, I'm like, yeah, this thing is getting pretty wild, man. Now he's just like clubbing him in the head, and it's just like he's trying to get to this, magic number, for to win the daughter's hand. And I was like, and I knew it was going to be wild the way that he got to the number. I was like, oh, he's going to have to go on a full on, genocide of these beavers to get. But I will say this: for all the things that were unexpected in the movie, there was one violent scene that I totally expected, and I was almost hoping they would get to faster. Because it's like there's no way you make this movie without this scene, and it's just the scene where he's in the cabin with them, and he's just fighting them hand to foot combat, and they're trying to jump him, and he's just beating all these beavers by himself. And it's like I knew that scene was going to come. I knew the scene was going to come where he's like maybe doing karate and he's fighting these beavers in the most dynamic, not gruesome, but brutal way. So that like barroom brawl scene, that's probably my favorite scene in the movie because I wanted to see it. I was like, if I made this movie, that scene would have to have it. There's no way you're having all these guys in, mascot costumes and you're not just beating on them. And it happened. So I was pleased.
I would say this particular, like the bashing and stuff, it really reminded me of one of my favorites Nintendo 64 games called Conker's Bad Fur Day. And literally, if you never played that game, it's literally squirrels and bears killing each other with the most craziest weapons, like knives and kamikaze, like bazookas and all types of stuff, and they curse and things in the game. So that's why, like many moments in the movie, like it reminded me of like Looney Tunes. It reminded me of that game in particular, and it reminded me in general of like other video games and stuff like that. So I can see where that inspiration particular came from.
Right
I
on.
I don't know if it, again, this is a little bit more of a side gag, even though it was stunt. I mean, stunts were kind of like there was some Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom with the chase inside, and instead of the rails, it was on the logs and stuff like that. Um, but one of them is just the different kills. Like there was the one where it was like it had the big spike and just like a wheel, and so like it left a giant hole in one of them, and the other one it like uh broke its neck, and so it was really long, and so kind of like you do snow angels, all the like five different beavers were killed different ways, and then the silhouettes were on the snow, and then that's where Sherlock and Watson kind of saw that as well. So yeah, the different like it just was super unique how they had all the different ways killing, and the whole coyote esque of trial and error, and it didn't work, and then he would place it, and then he would get hit and stuff like that. So I think I was in that constant trial and error mode of each one. But yeah, just on Steve to go that it's very much turn-based play. Is that turn-based play, where he had the little map and you go to the different things to check, and made me think also of Assassin's Creed, or where you can like set traps and then come back to like see what you caught, and so that's kind of one of the things I enjoyed for sure. Different kills, different types.
Right on.
Right on. I know for like I agree with everyone. Definitely on point. I that's my favorite scene. Jason's the scene that he mentioned was because that scene did have to happen. Like it was that was the most like actual homage to like old timey films, and just the choreography and just him like just knocking these guys out when he was on like literally the cutting on the cutting table. A plus, perfect. But I also did enjoy the first few moments of physical violence. Him just the first time this apple cider man meets with these beavers, and they just kick the shit out of him. Like that was the most real violence I ever saw in this picture. Just him trying to gang up on these beavers, and they're like, "Fuck you! There's more of us, you asshole." Yeah, that was peak, very peak. Um, Rightio. Before we head on over to final thoughts, does anyone got like anything they would like to ask or anything they want to bring up that was not talked about in our little discussion?
Yeah, go for
Yeah,
it,
I
Dino.
have a question. And again, the fact that this has somewhat of a story is ridiculous or insane, not needed really. But what did the whole apple cider bit at the beginning have anything to do with anything other than having just the bit of the little by little the beavers cut the thing and it rolls down? Like I just don't
So
know.
I thought about that too, Dino. And when like the movie first started, about 20, 25 minutes into the movie, I started thinking that, like, well, what is him being an Apple Jacks guy? Because that was the name of his beverage, Apple Jacks, right? So like, what's that got to do with anything in this movie, or is this going to come back? But then I realized that first 30 minutes, like shortly after 5 minutes, my answer came, because the first 30 minutes of the film is the intro. That's like the prologue, the first 30 minutes about the whole Applejack bit, and we find out why he becomes a trapper in the first place. And then the movie has a whole new title screen that comes on called whatever the guy is. They introduce the actors and says this guy's the trapper. We don't even, and then they start introducing who is playing everything. It takes 30 minutes to get into the intro.
No, I get that because that was the same thing. I mean, I was like, are you trying to be everything everywhere all at once type of thing? Because it kept showing those kind of credit shots. But I just meant because yeah, and at the end you see that they were using, I guess, his alcohol or whatever was going to be the burners for the ship or whatever. I was like, all those people disappear. It gets cold. That's where I'm kind of saying like this could have been an hour. You know, it just it's not that it was confusing because that was the whole kind of point of this, that it didn't have to make any sense. But I was just wondering if there's an answer why we needed to see him. Like it was almost, that's almost seemed like a test bit because that's where I had the most green screen and him kind of interacting more with animation of like the apples and other stuff that clearly wasn't there. But yeah, the rest and what I think is great with the brawl is like, oh, a bunch of people were part of this, and a bunch of people were actually in these beaver outfits. So my other question is, how many beaver outfits are there, JP? Did someone ask?
No, he gave us the answer. So, of course, all the dogs on screen, that's how many dog costumes they had. I think they only had 2 bunny costumes. And if I'm remembering this correct, they only had about 4 to 6 beaver costumes that they
Oh
could use
wow.
at a time. So when you see scenes where it's more than either 4 or 6, it's them compositing a different shot
Right.
of the beavers.
Yeah, I
Yeah, all
figured
that was
something like
very
that.
impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Did he say what his inspiration for this thing? Like, why? How did it happen?
What
Oh
drugs
man,
was he on? What drugs was he
what?
on?
They were on the hard cider, man. Zelda was definitely one of the inspirations that they brought up, as well as like the old Warner Brothers and Fleischer animations. But I forgot what it was like. It was the whole I think just basically like just trying to create a different sort of hero's journey type of story where it's just like this character study of this one guy from his start as this drunk bastard to an adequately skilled like hunter trapper guy, because from A to B, like, it's a big enough transition how different the characters are. But for sure, WB was brought up as well as Zelda from my recollection from like what was the inspirations for most of the film.
Now, my question is, how long did it take to shoot, and what was the budget of this? And did they make money off of this?
Got if I'm not if I'm not mistaken, it was the guy had to like sell either like property or his house for something in regard
Wow.
to make some to make some of the funding. It was definitely within 100,000 or more. Definitely not a mill. It was definitely not a mill from my recollection.
So I got the
And
records if you guys want them.
you got the records, awesome. Because I know shooting wise, I think was like a combination of like 5 years, but I don't know if that's including the years that it took to try to take it out to film festivals. Because I know that, from my recollection, took 2 years out of the out of this production. 2 years trying to take it out to festivals, and then post was like post and production 5 in my recollection. And one of the reasons why it took so long was they try to reshoot a lot of the outdoor stuff, and they could only do it while it was during the winter seasons.
I was really impressed that they shot this thing right off of
Yeah.
Lake Michigan. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. I don't know if that's just what the map said. But
No, well, not only that, but they give thanks at the end to Michigan and some other stuff also. When he special thanks, and it's like a gajillion people, but then it also had a couple of like seals of yeah, I think one of them was
do you know
Michigan, but
where he's from, JP?
I think he's actually from there, because I know like one of the things that they liked about making the film was like showing that, oh, it's not just a California, it's not just an LA thing. Because I know Mike did a few shorts and stuff in Los Angeles, but he's not from Los Angeles. So definitely where like more of the East Coast or what's the fucking I don't know maps. Like,
His other movie is Lake Michigan Monster.
that
So
one is a wild one. If you guys want to see something that makes no fucking sense whatsoever, that one's a wild one.
I love that you've like explored his catalog. Like that's incredible.
Nah,
Okay,
dude, it's great.
I got some numbers for you guys. So the movie was made on a $150,000 budget. I guess I can also see why it would take a 2-year festival run for a movie like this, because it being independent, there's no way. I mean, there's not no way, but it would just be a very difficult uphill battle to get this movie into as many festivals as possible in 1 year. I mean, because feature film submissions are very expensive. Getting this thing all across the country would be pretty expensive. Visiting play because you want to, travel with your film if at all possible. And I can see this thing making it into a lot of festivals. But I'll talk a little bit more about how my mind has changed a little bit about this now that we've talked about it in my final thought. But this movie grows so far because it's still currently in theaters. It's still playing in 2 theaters in LA right now. Like JP's right. Like in December, there's some schedules on the books. But the film has grossed about 650,000 worldwide as of um, its
Wow,
release.
I'm impressed already.
I mean, on $150,000 budget, not bad. You know what I mean? Like they've made their money back for sure, and they've lined their pockets with a few bucks. Maybe enough to make another one. I don't know what they're gonna do, but they did something cool, and they
Wait,
have made
so
some money.
quick question: Was the run just in like LA and major cities, or did they run this like worldwide, or like at
No,
least?
this was
So
worldwide.
there is an international number. So the domestic number is 502,000, and the international number is 150,000. So I mean, yeah, it has had an international number. I don't know where, but they screened it outside of the country.
The UK and I believe France was the other place where they screened it.
Yes, the French would definitely appreciate this, I believe.
But yeah, those I'm glad because like yeah, because the part when I saw here in LA was part of this whole tour that they were doing across the country where yeah, the guys who made the picture did a Q&A. I had no idea that they were going to be there. So, and it was just brilliant. And I ended up getting a signed poster from them because at one point of the showing they because it was very interactive, but one of the things that they did was like, okay, point to whoever laughed the weirdest or fucking loudest in this audience. And I had so many fingers pointed at me that I forgot what was going on. So no, it was brilliant. Ah man, honest to God, that was one of the best highlights of not only of the year for myself, but also just the greatest movie going experience of all time. So with that being said, let's move it down to final thoughts. So go on, my gentlemen. Let's go with Dino, my man, Don Dino.
yep, yep.
What is your final thought?
So first off, I'm glad you brought up Zelda because I did forget to say that in initial thoughts about how I also got a very much NES feel feel because when he went to drop off the pelts and all that, the little board where you had to purchase, it showed like tiny little icons of what you could get, which is kind of what in the NES and I guess Zelda and those other games, it would just show you, like little emojis basically of what you needed, as well as like they had little exclamation points and stuff, I think, at times, just like appear almost like the live. Well, that's also Looney Tunes. Anyway, I did enjoy this movie. Again, I think, yeah, seeing it in an audience would be so much fun. There is a whole Reddit thread. I kind of stumbled on it with the creators and stuff. So would I recommend this to people? I think so. Is it a certain type of people that I would recommend it to? Yeah, I would be very. It's hard to just recommend. Like I feel like I have to have a conversation, or if I see that it's playing somewhere, I might recommend like you gotta see this. Like if you like black and white films or Charlie Chaplin, and you're like this is a hard film to recommend to Marina, but I think Marina might actually enjoy it because it's like everything she hates, black and white, no talking, like so. It would be hard to recommend, but I think
That's funny.
she would enjoy it. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. Would I watch it again? I probably would, especially if it's in a live showing, and it would be a plus if the creator and stuff are there for like a Q&A. I would be very much into that. I also saw there's going to be some audio commentary or whatever coming out, maybe with the Blu-ray. Maybe it already came out. That's something I would be interested in, especially since there's no dialogue in the film. Just have that and listen to the film film makers talk about the experience and everything. So yeah, that's my final
Copy
thought.
that. I Marina did send me their thoughts, but I can't pull it up at this moment. They did watch this with their kids, so that was really nice. They thought the
Oh
movie was
wow.
rather. They thought the movie was really cute, way better than they expected, and the kid, from my understanding, really enjoyed it. So that's that. Let's go on to Jason. Let's do Jason.
No, that's really cool. I'm glad the kids dug this, and I can see that. Um, so I I did like this thing. I like it a little bit more after talking to you guys about it. Um, I would see it again under the same exact circumstances that Dino mentioned. I would like to watch it with a group, an audience, and I would like to see it with like a talk back from the creators or whatever. That would be the ideal circumstances for me to view it again. I would recommend this to JP and his Cerunalites because that's who I think would get the most
Damn.
out of this. I mean, 8 viewings, JP. Good lord, that's got to be some type of record. Like, I mean, I don't know for the world, but for you, it has to be a record for how many times you've seen a movie in theaters. Nonetheless, it's incredible.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
it's incredible. I mean, and for this movie, but I mean, I can see you like your whole personality is stamped all over this thing. So I'm really grateful that you brought this to us. I probably would have. I don't know if I would have ever heard of this without you, and I don't think I would have ever found my way to it without you. At least no time soon, because this just didn't cross my desk. Um, so I'm really glad I saw this. This is like I said, I say this every once in a while, but these are the type of movies that Cinema Club is made for. The type of movies that introduces us to a whole new genre. Even what I mean. Like this thing is pretty legit, man. It's legit in a way that like only someone. It's a labor of love that only an independent minded person can come up with because the studios are never going to finance anything like this. Even if the return looked amazing, they just wouldn't get it. They just would not, like a Penn State graduate who's running a studio from business school is just not going to get why this thing makes sense or matters. So, kudos again to the filmmakers for getting this thing done and getting it out there. Like it really is a little piece of magic. That's my final thought.
Now on to Des Master Des. Whoa, whoa.
Okay, so final thought. I'm unbelievably happy that a movie like this gets made in this era and this year because I've been losing faith. I've been losing faith in like a lot of films and stuff because like I just feel like especially the big studios, they just have like this formula that they just like to sprinkle upon all these movies that come out now, and they're good for a certain audience, but it's just like I love seeing movies that dare to do things differently outside the box, and especially to see that happening in like the 2020s, it's very refreshing. I don't know if $650,000 will be sufficient enough necessarily for the amount of probably hard work and effort that went behind this movie. Because now knowing that it took 5 years and all these things, I'm pretty sure that the people behind this went through a lot just to even put this stuff out. And I'm super happy I got to see it. When JP mentioned it, I thought this was going to be one of the movies that it sounds cool, but I never will have the chance to watch it. And just like Jason and Dino, I would love to watch it under those circumstances because that's where I feel this movie thrives at. It's just in a theater, packed with people, enjoying it, feeling weird about it, just like going through the motions together. I feel like that's really truly the journey that this movie deserves. Watching it at home, I'm sure it will be fun mainly for like the hardcore fans and people like that, but like watching it in theaters, I think for like the general audience will be much of a pleasant experience. So overall, I love the movie. I would recommend it to people that have an interesting sense of humor, and definitely people that grew up on the Looney Tunes and Nintendo 64 and all that stuff, because I think they will get it. I don't think the younger generations will get it. Maybe kids will enjoy it, possibly because of the whole people and mascots and stuff like that. Uh, but like teenagers, I don't think will dig this stuff, and old people will be like, "What am I watching right now?" Uh, but I feel like people in between, like in the either babies and like maybe 30s, 40s, those people might really get this movie. So that's my final thought.
I would agree with all
Copy
that.
that. Well, I'll be ending it with my little final thoughts. When I saw this in the theater about 8 times, like I made sure for the majority of those times I was with someone else. So for 3 of the times I was with a group of like two other folks. I was with one other fella for for the fourth time. So that makes, and I only saw this movie once on my own, but then the rest was with Michaela. It was just a really weird, like, addiction, to be quite honest, and just a high to be in the cinema. And like, it's not only and like just because I really, really like the movie, but also seeing that I'm not the only crazy one out there, and like just the joy of hearing people like which jokes land and which ones catch folks by surprise. It was just honestly a very what's that drug's name again? Ecstasy, ecstatic. I don't know where it's escaped me, but I would definitely would recommend towards almost anybody. A group setting definitely is way better on a, especially on a first watch. That I would recommend. So if you guys catch this in the cinema, definitely catch it at the cinema. If you can't, it's for free on Tubi and YouTube. Have a little party. Like bring your friends over. Don't even tell them what they're gonna watch. Don't even get them set. Don't get them ready. Just like, hey, I got a movie, and let's just watch it. Let's just watch it. Hopefully they'll thank you for it. That or throw you across the room. Either one. But overall, a 5-star movie. That was our review. Well, 5 stars for me, A+ always. But yeah, that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed the talk. If you haven't seen the picture, definitely see it. But I think we got one question left amongst
I
the
have a
table.
question. I do have a question, and that's Steve. What do you got for us next week?
Next week, I am so glad you asked. I was on mute that I was so excited. Uh, but I actually got inspired by this movie.
Oh
And
boy.
I have a proposal for you guys. And since there's three, that means there shouldn't be a tiebreaker. So it's either a movie I already watched a long time ago that's kind of weird, and or a movie I've never watched that's also kind of weird. So the movie that I watched a long time ago and it's kind of weird is, oh wait, Kung Pao Enter the Fist, or a movie that I haven't watched and it's kind of weird would be I'm sorry, I'm dealing with a computer that has stuff in German. I'm not even joking. And I don't even understand what. Okay, maybe it's this one. No, okay. Well, one second. The movie's coming. So think about it. Number one, Compound Enter the Fist. Okay, that's the first one. And then the second one is, now I got it. It is, here we go. Can you see it? Sasquatch Sunset.
Okay. We got some choices here. So are we going to get the vote on these?
Yes. So number one would be right here. Oh, I messed up again. Oh, here we go. Oh, Compound Enter the Fist, number one. Number two, Sasquatch Sunset. Compound Enter the Fist is from 2002. Sasquatch Sunset is from 2024.
Okay, so to be clear, I guess Dino, JP, and I are voting, and you're the tiebreaker. Or no, there's no need for a tiebreaker because it's three of us.
No need for tiebreakers. So
Okay.
I'm gonna count down from 5, and you pick the one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Unanimously,
We're doing Sunset Sasquatch.
Sasquatch Sunset starring Jesse Eisenberg is starting in this film. Just so
Okay.
you know. So for El Dondino, Jason Eccles, JP Serrano, and me, Steve the Stevie. We'll catch you next week. Bye bye.